Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, my friends. Good evening. How are you guys doing? Hey, Doug, how are you doing, my friend? I'm doing good. How are you? I mean, a little bit tired. Our little one has sleep regression, which means she doesn't really sleep anymore, which is just cosmic justice because she always slept through the night for the first 6 months, basically starting from day 2. And now we're getting fucked. Or at least, I mean, last night it was me. so yeah, that's a little bit of something, but otherwise, all good. I hope Credit's fine. Credit's fine. He's just on an unexpected travel. So yeah, I was supposed to be chatting with him, and now I'm chatting with you guys. Massive downgrade, but is what it is, huh? Can't have everything. Love to catch you live, old friend. Appreciate you coming by, man. Anyway, yeah, I can hear my baby being upset in the background. I don't think it comes through, but yeah. How is the little one? I mean, she's a little bit on edge, but good generally. Very lively, starting to eat normal food. So yeah. Little one is crying. I mean, she's not crying. That's the funny thing. Like, she doesn't really cry. She's just frustrated. Like, has been anyway. Like, she wants to eat something and then she cannot. Then she starts screaming. It is fun. A tip: enjoy these sleepless nights. I mean, I enjoy everything but the sleepless nights. But yeah, is what it is. Um, So yeah, I mean, nothing's really changed from the last time I streamed, which was Monday. Excuse me for the schedule. So originally I was supposed to Wednesday, but Cred couldn't do Monday, so I took Monday. And then I wanted to do Wednesday, and Cred thought he could squeeze in a show, but he couldn't. So there was no show there. And now Friday. So one of the rare times where it's actually not my fault. Usually it's my fault. If there's any issues, it's usually my fault. But this time, not so much. But yeah, let's get this thing going. Nothing's changed. Bonk changed me. Yeah, you guys been trading Bonk? I've been like a bunch of my real life friends have been getting into Bonk too. Yeah, that's a chart. I was actually being like, someone showed me this like down here somewhere. Oh well, is what it is. But that's a chart and a half up 16,000%. Good times when the Doge coins are rallying, eh? It's not really worrisome at all, is it? I hate Bonk. Dude, there's one thing. Oh, fuck off. There's one thing that you should never have, and that is like being upset because something in this market goes up or down or whatever, and you're not in it. Like it's just gonna ruin it, because you're gonna look at this. You're like, oh shit, this is up 16,000%. I could have been like made so much money, but now the market has to do this and that, and then you revenge trade and do dumb shit. Just, I mean, be happy for the people that made a bunch of money and let that be it. If you start attaching emotions to this, you're gonna get fucked. But yeah, I mean, for me, this is. I mean, it wasn't really like, the thing is, this was tiny, right? So it isn't really reflected entirely in this chart because Bonk was quite tiny. Now it is. Let me see where it is on the list of coins. let me see where it is. I should be still quite low. Yeah, look at that. It's just behind Lido. So it's now a big coin, but it's not like this is like top 10, but it's still like it's a meme coin that went up a shitload. It's generally bearish in my eyes. Don, when are you chatting with Jim on his Woo podcast? You two have the most similar ethics and personality to me and CT, so I would enjoy hearing you two chat. We actually have chatted already. If you harass the Woo guys, they might release it. Maybe it was too shitty, and then they were like, "Fuck it, we don't want to see it." But we actually like like when we were talking, I think it was like this breakout here. Or maybe the next one. I don't remember. But it was like a while ago, actually. Someone has the spider senses, just like knows about unreleased podcasts that haven't even come out yet. I'm impressed. That's the upside of life. Can release great shitty content. I mean, my content, I pride myself on the shittiness of my content. If it was any better, I mean, why even come? Huh? You have to have some shitty content in your life. But yeah, let's talk Bitcoin real fast, and then we can go over like the bonks of this world if you guys want to. Mario Nafal seems to like it. Yeah, dude, fucking hell. But yeah, so we chatted last Monday, which was this nuke, and I told you guys that I expected the market to trade higher the next day. It actually traded higher the next day and the one afterwards, which is pretty much in line of what you'd expect, right? Like this is for now pretty technical. You have some sort of distribution here. You have a sell-off, you have a bounce. We'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, I just wanted to check when we talked last because it makes sense to have a little bit of a reference point. So the monthly time frame, same as Monday. It's not that bad. It's not great that it's pulling back here, but realistically speaking, anything above here is good. But what you also have to realize is that the market is up, or was up, almost 200%, and we have people making tens of millions in unrealized profits on Bonk, right? So, like that's a little bit of like a red flag to me. But chart wise, this is completely fine, right? Like this is it's all good. But we're running into the ETF, and now with every week that goes by, it gets more and more risky. I think the closer you get to the deadline, the riskier it is to trade this thing, unless you're sitting in front of the computer at all times. Then I think you can try to snipe the move up from the ETF approval. If it is denied, you can just smash short. Like I think at that point, you're gonna be good. As long as you don't use too much leverage on either side, there's a trade to be had. But if you're not, right, if you're just a guy that just trades once every week or so, or maybe even once a day, that isn't in front of the computer at all times, it's getting more and more risky. The longer you stick around, the worse it gets, in my opinion. So, yeah. But the monthly is still looking okay. The only thing that you need is this area to hold. If this area doesn't hold, that's where you flip bearish. It's pretty much the same kind of high time frame signal as we had here. Talked about it back when we were trading at 60K. I was like, yeah, you can. I mean, it does feel frothy, but why not just wait until you close below the monthly? And that's what happened. And then starting there, we're bearish, and that worked out quite well. So you could make the same argument here. Like if I wanted to short aggressively, I think that would be where I would step on the gas. But I don't short, so yeah. is what it is. Anyway, that's support for now until it's broken. And we'll see how the whole ETF thing is going to play out. The reason why I'm not trading, and I mean, I've said it before, is because I'm not really good at trading these kind of news events. I'm much better at kind of just figuring out how strong or weak the market is afterwards, right? Like you get the ETF approval, the market nukes. That would be a very, very bearish sign, right? Technically good news would mean the news is priced in, and the market goes up afterwards, which like that be impressive just based on the fact that I think a lot of pricing in has been happening. But yeah, that's where I'm better at. I'm not that good at just holding a position into news and praying that it works out for me. Like that's not the way I trade. Anyway, that's the monthly time frame. I liked a setup. I mean, we talked about this on Monday, and with every day that goes by, it gets less likely to happen. But I like a setup where we retest like 32, 33K before the ETF. That would be a massive buy, I think, because at that point you can just trade the ETF again, right? As in you can front run it again. We front ran the whole thing by buying here. If it nukes all the way back down again, you could front run it again. Now, I think that's very unlikely, but yeah. And if we get a nuke after the ETF, like let's say you get the ETF approval, it goes up, it nukes. This is where we'd want to buy for the bounce. And then if you want to be bearish, you can short the lower high that's going to come in here. Like if it plays out bearishly, and then you can break support and go lower. I think that's kind of the area that is most interesting. Like 32, 33K always going to be interesting. Both before and after the ETF. I think if it happens before, which is unlikely, you might get like a really nice rally after the ETF, and I think that could lead to constructive price action. If you get it after, I think that would lead to a lower high into more nukage. So that's kind of like my going thesis, is the ETF's not going to be so good for price in the short term. But who the fuck knows? I don't. That's why I'm not shorting or longing or buying or selling anything. Hey, when you say approaching the deadline in terms of the ETF, what do you mean by that? Is there a hard date where it will be either accepted or rejected on that date? Yes. I mean, technically, yes. The only possible times that would make sense for it to be approved or denied would be, I think it's the 5th to 10th of January or something like that. Like in that range, if it doesn't, like at that point, the decision has to be made, or like, I don't know if they can delay it again, but I'm pretty sure they cannot. They're either gonna have to approve or deny in January. Anyway, you're gonna get some news in January early. Duck ETH ETF has no chance of getting accepted in 2024. I'd be shocked, but I'm not an ETF kind of guy. I would like for that. I would actually want to see the Bitcoin ETF be approved first, but I think if anything, that'd be like something for 2025. But who knows? I'm not an ETF nerd. Don, you and Cred have helped me so much with my trading. Trading based off closes with invalidation is literally the best and most simple framework. Happy to help, man. Yeah, it can help. It's quite a good tool to kind of figure out whether you're being an idiot or not. And that's the most important part about trading. Like figuring out whether you're being dumb or not is one of the harder parts, but also one of the most important ones, because if you're being an idiot for too long, you're dead. You can be an idiot for a while, but you need to figure out whether you are one or not. About to marry a French girl. Do you have any advice? I learned French. because her family is probably gonna talk to you in French, not English. Which is a struggle. I can tell you that much. But yeah, that's the weekly time frame. I think there's a little bit of interesting stuff that could happen there, but it's all a little bit further away. And let's say, and I mean, I just talked about the thesis that I have. Obviously, what could happen is we go sideways here. The ETF news comes out, it still goes sideways, and that would be quite bullish. So I think it's very bullish. Like if we get the ETF approval and the market goes sideways or the market goes up, that'd be quite bullish, both. And then, yeah, then maybe we go to 60K. But generally, like what I've been seeing, like real life friends way into crypto again, Reddit completely going nuts. The only place that is dead is Twitter, but that makes sense given what Elon has been doing on there. I think people are just staying clear, basically, and they're having fun elsewhere, which, fair enough. But yeah, that's the weekly time frame. Could also go up always, just because I think it's going to go down. Or it's going to go down more likely than it goes up, doesn't mean it cannot go up, right? The ETF is quite a bullish catalyst, so who knows? I think if you announce something 6 months out, it's a little bit aggressive to think that those kind of news will have much of an impact on news, like on the actual day, but no one knows. So it could also go up, but in my opinion, more likely to go down. So that's that. On the daily time frame, I talked about it briefly earlier. We talked on Monday while the crash was happening. Like the crash, it's not really that much. It's 10%. While we're trading at like 42,000 or something. And if I remember correctly, I have no idea. My memory, like I didn't sleep. I'm barely able to talk, but somewhere around there anyway. But so far, I think like what we've been doing is basically we distributed. We had like a parabolic advance of sorts. We distributed. We broke down. We bearishly retested, and now we're having a down day. That said, this is heading into the weekend. So weekends usually don't really do that much, and so far this doesn't even look that bad. Technically speaking, didn't like it front ran all the supports, like 40K held. So like I wouldn't say this is necessarily a super bearish chart. The only reason why I think this is not the best is because of my overarching thesis with the whole ETF thing. So chart-wise, yes, this is just basically a bearish retest. But the fact of the matter is, and this is something that I like to look at even if I'm not necessarily in the bull or bear camp, or if like something doesn't agree with myself, the support got front ran massively, the resistance did not. And generally speaking, you want to see supports or resistances front ran, as in like a retest of 38K, for example, would be bad news for bulls in my eyes. And we didn't. And we retested the resistance. So technically speaking, bulls are still somewhat in control, even though we had that 10% down day. And I wouldn't necessarily want to be too aggressively short. But if you got an entry close towards like 43K, I think that's quite a nice entry that is quite risk defined. So it's not a bearish chart per se. I would say this is more neutral. It did break down. It did kind of undercut the first consolidation during the entire run up, right? Like if you look at this consolidation, never got tested. This here got tested, but from the from the top, not from the bottom. This here got tested, but from the bottom, right? So market behavior has definitely shifted somewhat, but I don't think this is necessarily super conclusive. I've had a few people kind of like at me on Twitter, be like, okay, is this top? Could be, but more has to be done to kind of make that obvious. Don, would you prefer for the ETF to be approved or rejected? I would prefer it to be approved. I think that'd be quite cool. I generally don't like trading crypto with the traditional means that we have right now. Like every time I trade on an exchange, be it like any crypto exchange, I'm not the biggest fan. I always feel like my funds are at risk. And in an ETF, I would feel a little bit more secure. I generally am of the paranoid type, but yeah. But yeah. Oh, I actually completely, dude, I'm so tired. I actually completely forgot to plug our sponsor. Talking about exchanges, we're sponsored by one, which is WooX. Their links are in the description. They're doing quite well, and they've taken a lot of the advice that we've been giving them, which is really cool. So it's the first time that someone in the industry actually listens to what we have to say, which is quite cool. But yeah. Woo doing well? Yeah, they're doing well. There was a lot of fear going around when they got hacked, but they reimbursed everyone. Like they didn't even get hacked. Like Woo didn't get hacked. A market maker on Woo got hacked, which for some reason a lot of people kind of took as everything's fucked. Wasn't even that much money, but yeah. Check the Woo chart? Nah, I don't want to talk about the Woo price action. That seems wrong. As long as they do well as an exchange, I'm happy. I don't care about the exchange token. Don, you're amazing. We love you a lot. Appreciate that, man. But yeah, that's that. That's Bitcoin. Not really much to say. We had this like ledger nuke, and now we've been drifting lower, but nothing crazy. But yeah, I would say like we've been having an old season, even though you cannot really see it in my list. Like my list has actually been underperforming massively. But the old season has been on Bitcoin, funnily enough, and on Solana. Don, can you see Bitcoin going to 16.5K? No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think in general, like if you're super bearish Bitcoin, right? If this whole ETF thing plays out, if it gets denied, I think the lowest it will go is here. If it gets approved, I think the lowest it will probably go is here. Unless we get general market fuckery, but it's not really looking like it right now. So Don, if you were to speculate, where do you think Bitcoin may top out this market cycle? Like 44K, maybe? Nah, I just don't fucking know. But I think like intermediate top would make sense around like 40 to 50K. In general, where this is like, let's say this pulls back, you know, like this does something like this, goes like this. Not necessarily that long, but I think like could almost go that long. Like, let's say like this. Maybe we do something like this before we go lower again, like 90, 100, 110K towards like 26, like 25, 26. Wouldn't surprise me, but that's kind of what I think you could be looking at on the Bitcoin front, but no fucking idea. Don, any thoughts on stocks at the moment? I mean, chart-wise, this looks quite good. It did close lower than the highs previously set, but that's just good looking. That said, I'm starting to see some froth here too. But it can stay frothier. Like this wasn't frothy the entire way up, in my opinion. It's now starting to get frothy. But it can stay frothier longer than you can stay solvent as a bear. So, yeah, it's pretty hard to tell. But I mean, there's no real reason to be too bearish on this thing. Like, it's just a good looking chart. This is why, like, I was basically, and this is something that I keep saying, but people just kind of ignore. When the market is out of whack, like when the traditional markets are completely going crazy because COVID, because whatever, you can use TA to find bottoms. You can use TA to find tops, right? And that worked wonderfully. And it's something like, I was like, I don't want to do TA on this thing, but right now it works. Because the market was just going crazy, right? And this was during the COVID times. So basically, that was all of this, right? But now that the markets are not necessarily going, like now that it's not as hot, I think TA gets less and less useful. And my gut feeling on this is that it's still going to chop. It might make a new high, but I still think it's going to return back down and chop. But it's not my market, and I'm not really trading it. I'm a crypto kind of guy. Like, that's where my edge is. But yeah, I'm expecting chop, generally speaking, on pretty much almost everything. What does froth look like from a TA perspective? I mean, when stuff goes vertical, I mean, froth is this. That's froth in crypto. Obviously, it looks a little bit different in the stock market, but that's froth, TA-wise. But I don't usually look at it that way. I just look at how much engagement stuff gets, how many people are trading, all that kind of stuff, and how many people have eyes on it, basically. That's more my style, but yeah. Anyway, that's that. ETH, still shit as ever. I mean, I'm waiting for the day that I get punished for saying that ETH is the worst that you could do. And I mean, to be fair, like ETH could literally do a 5x and I would still be right on my whole thesis, which has been buy anything but ETH. If you want to have altcoin risk, don't buy ETH, buy something shitty. And we've been mentioning Solana, we've been mentioning Link. Both of those have massively outperformed ETH, right? I mean, that's Solana ETH. That's up 200% easily. If you go from the bottom, it's quite a bit more. And the reason for that is quite simple, in my opinion. And it's just that when you have this kind of very, very Bitcoin-centric narrative, I mean, why would you buy ETH? If anything, you buy something complete and utter garbage, and you go into that and you gamble on that. And that has been true. Like, Bitcoin has been just like the steady thing that dictates where the market goes generally. And then there's been a few altcoins here and there that just have been outperforming ETH massively. And I mean, they've been outperforming Bitcoin too. But when you're trading Bitcoin, you're not necessarily looking for like outperforming anything. You just want to have money go up or down. Like, you want to have the market go up or down, along with your views, basically. But if you're trading altcoins, you always have to outperform Bitcoin. So being in ETH has not been the best bet. And I don't think it will be the best bet. It's generally should be turning into a better bet with every week that goes by. Just based on the fact that once the Bitcoin ETF is through, it would make sense for people to speculate on the ETH ETF. but that comes with a caveat. Fucking hell, I fucked this up last week too. Comes up with like a little bit of something that you have to keep in mind, and that is that if the Bitcoin ETF doesn't lead to positive price action on Bitcoin, I think that effect would stay away, basically, because then people are not dumb, right? The market is not as dumb as you'd think. So if the Bitcoin ETF doesn't lead to Bitcoin price appreciation immediately, I think BTC could even sell off, which would not be great for people that have been holding ETH. So yeah, so far so bad for ETH. Every time it has a little bit of a day, it just goes back to bleeding. So yeah, ETH not really that interesting. It's kind of been putting in low time frame, lower highs consecutively, just been trending down. Maybe if that stops, you could bet on like a little bit of a reversal, low time frame. But in general, I think you look at this weekly time frame, you want to be, the earliest you want to be bullish at is above 0.057. Like that's the earliest. And I've been seeing people mention that ETHUSD is going up, but the thing is, Bitcoin USD has been going up a shitload more. And I mean, you take so much more risk with ETH. So like anyone that's been shilling ETH, I don't really get it. Yeah, we'll see. Don, been following you since 18, learned a lot from you in cred. Could you share what is your approximate win rate, which has been your worst losing streak? I mean, it depends on obviously the time frame. Like, for example, this year I had one missed trade out of, I don't know, a lot. So this year I have almost 100% win rate, but that's just because I was very high conviction that we were gonna go up, and bet that way, and the market just went straight up only, right? So this year I took like 100 trades ish, and I had one wrong, as in like I made like I lost money on one, but that's obviously not the norm, and this is not how it usually goes. But yeah, like if you get the high time frame trend right, and you're not like a high leverage degen, yeah, doesn't have to be bad. Like your win rates can go quite crazy, but obviously the higher you pump your leverage, the lower your win rate is gonna go. Where will be the best entry for Sol if you want to buy it? I think Solana, if you want to buy it, like 30 would be the best. Otherwise, you just close your eyes and buy now and hope that it goes higher. But I think if you want to buy Solana, like 30 to 33-ish, that's where you get lucky. That's a lucky entry. Otherwise, just pray. I think that's okay. ETHUSD is up basically the same amount as Bitcoin from the bottom. So Bitcoin bottomed in November 22 and is currently up 172%. ETHUSD bottomed quite a while before that, and this is where your confusion comes in. And if you make it like this, it's still quite a difference, but not as large of a difference. And that's just basically because it washed out way deeper during the washout and then actually didn't make any low. But this is where Bitcoin bottomed, and that's 100%. And that's very, 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 very different. I mean, the thing is, I bought here, right? Like I bought here and sold. I still have the tweet chain somewhere. I bought low here and sold into 1,000, whatever, 700, 800 or 900, somewhere in this wick area. Because, I mean, yeah, ETH bounced a little bit during that time. But yeah, it looks quite a bit worse. And you don't even need to look at ETH/USD or whatever. Just look at ETH BTC, and ETH BTC has been trending down. So this is January of 23, so beginning of the year, and this is where it is now. So if you look at that, it's quite clear that it's been down only, and that's 30%. But yeah, that's that. That's ETH. Don't think it's too interesting. If anything, like I'd still like, even if ETH is gonna start outperforming, I think other things are gonna outperform ETH. And it's more risky than Bitcoin at pretty much any point. So yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle to trade. But I think if you want to trade it above 0.057, that's where you can have a discussion. So yeah, and then like I said, Solana, I mean, that's just been going up only. And if you want to have entries on these, you can take low time frame entries, right? Like you had a consolidation here, you just blindly buy it. But I think in general, like the way I trade, a pullback to 30 would be interesting. Let's say this goes higher, then we could talk about a pullback at 60, right? Like this goes higher, and then you can trade that leg from 60 to 100 or whatever, or you just buy here and pray to God that this comes and not this, which I think up is more likely, but I think there's a decent chance that it also just goes down. So high time frame wise, that's just kind of how you have to look at these things. Obviously, low time frame wise, very different. Like if you just look at these on the hourly chart, there's trades to be had. I'm not saying you cannot trade Solana until it's 30. I'm saying on a high time frame basis, it's either like 30, or if it goes higher, then you can map out something at 60. But for example, like I'm not gonna tell you that this support is a good support to buy, because I think it's not necessarily. If you're holding ETH now and wanted SOL exposure, where would you sell ETH for SOL? I mean, I don't know. Like this is a huge rally. Like if you start thinking about exchanging your ETH for SOL after Solana went up like 20x, I mean, let's actually look how much it is up. So Solana is up like, it's not 20, but it's 9x from the bottom, 10x ish, from 8 to 80. I mean, there's only shitty advice really. So that is a tough question to answer. I wouldn't want to. Like at some point, I wouldn't want to anymore. And I think that's getting quite aggressive. I mean, there's a reason why I'm saying, like, if anything, I'd be buying 30 SOL, because for me, this needs to pull back quite a bit to be interesting. I've been trading for a living since 19 and have a lot of freedom in my life now. I don't think it would have been possible without you and Cred. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate the nice message, man. It's very kind of you. But yeah, that's that. AVAC's been kind of pulling the whole I'll reverse a bear market in the span of a month, which is quite cool to see. Yeah, but that's like doing TA on these is just impossible unless you just do the low time frames. Like, look at that. Like, you like look at this and you're like, okay, I mean, what the fuck am I supposed to do? If you're trading on the 4 hour, I mean, it's not a bad looking chart, right? And then you can be like, okay, this is the high. You're starting to run higher into it. like fuck it, as long, and I mean, I wouldn't even draw the trend line like this. I would draw it somewhere like this, and you're like, okay, as long as it can hold there, maybe it goes higher. Like, if I had to trade this, I would trade it on the low time frames, and then I'd be like, okay, I can trade this. But otherwise, like, this shit is just up a lot. And I mean, what are you gonna do with the weekly or the monthly time frames? The thing is, I don't trade on the low time frames, so for me, there's really nothing to do. Either I catch the move, but even if I caught this, I would have sold long ago, or I just sit there and I'm like, oh well, next time. How's the baby, Don? Good, good. She's a little bit more, how do I put it best, expressing herself. Like, she's been screaming around a little bit, but good otherwise. No cred today? No, he's sadly not here. But yeah, that's that. I think there's really only a handful of altcoins that are doing well. And everything else is just doing shit. Like, I saw Atom being shilled like 2 or 3 days ago, and like people were like, look at me, I was right. And I looked at the chart and I'm like, it's a little bit wild to call I've been right on a chart like this already. Like, I don't even see the move against Bitcoin. Against ETH, you maybe like, but even against ETH, this isn't up that much. I mean, it's tough to find something that's been underperforming ETH, but Atom is definitely one of them. So like, it's reaching levels where people are just like very hungry, and generally very frothy. But yeah, like I said, that can maintain for quite a bit longer than you'd think. Been watching you in Cred for a week now, and my members are absolutely huge. Wouldn't have been possible without you too. Thanks a lot. I mean, very happy to help. I'm very happy to help. Is it a good idea, in your opinion, to be short on Bitcoin in this cycle? In my opinion, no one, like, I actually think no one should be shorting Bitcoin or like crypto as a whole. I think it's a foolish game. If anything, if you're bearish on it, you just ignore it. And there's multiple reasons for it. Okay, so the most important one is that if you short it, you're in the wrong mindset, because this is a space that goes up 10, 20, 30x from time to time. And if you're in the, like, basically the bear market, it goes like this. And AVAX, for example, is the best example, right? It goes like this and it goes like this. Now, during this period of down movement, you literally get trained to short every single green candle. Like, now, let's say you didn't even short the first green candle here. It went up and you're like, oh shit, this is such a gift. I can start shorting this back down again. But what you kind of get stuck in this mindset, right? Like, if you're not very experienced in what you're doing, you're in the wrong mindset. You're not looking at kind of taking advantage of stuff going up. You're thinking about, like, this has to go back down again. And I mean, at the end of the day, everything in crypto goes back down, especially against Bitcoin, right? Over a long enough period, like, stuff goes down against Bitcoin. It's just how it is. But yeah, even Bitcoin, like, generally speaking, so Bitcoin generally speaking goes up. Stuff against Bitcoin, generally speaking, the longer it's around, goes down, right? Litecoin, for example, was one of the hottest altcoins, goes down. So if you're looking for shorts, generally you can look at them on the altcoins, but there's a good chance you just get completely rolled over, right? Like, because stuff pumps 2, 3, 4, 5, 6x, so you have to be quite good at what you're doing. And then if you're looking for shorts on Bitcoin, what you're basically doing is you're putting yourself in a spot where you want prices to go down. and then you just kind of ignore the bullish side of things. That's something I've seen a lot of people do. So I think you should stay away from that. Concentrate, like if you're bearish, be out of the market, because then it's going to be easier to jump back into the market when you're bullish, or when you're like just generally seeing something. Because if you've been bear harding it, just look at the popular bear accounts. They just never get any of the rallies right. So yeah, my advice, stay away from the short button. If anything, look for the opportunities to the upside. Almost every bear chart that I've seen be around, like the people that are consistently bearish or looking for the shorts, they sell products now. And there's a reason for that, right? They sell paid groups, they sell whatever. It's literally every single one of them. And the reason is quite simple, because you don't make money in a market that goes up when you're shorting. What about short as the tool for hedging? I mean, totally fine. Just don't do it with too much leverage, because I've seen actually people hedge like positions and then they have like not enough money on the exchange, and then their short gets liquidated and the coin goes down 50%. It's all happened before. So yeah, you gotta be careful with all of that. But I mean, in general, leverage is best used for risk management, but people obviously they're like, oh yeah, I can make money if this goes down, and stuff goes down 90% in crypto all the time. So fuck yeah, I'm gonna be rich. It's not how it works. But yeah, that's that. Hope that all made sense. Was a little bit more casual than the normal Wednesday show. I'm also super tired, so I'm gonna call it. But it's been fun. Appreciate you guys coming by. Stay safe out there. It's gonna be interesting going into the halving, but into the ETF. It's gonna be wild price action, more likely than not, and we'll talk about it. When it comes around, and maybe we get a surprise and it actually comes in early, but I don't think so. More than likely, it's just gonna be January, and then we'll see what's up. We'll see if the king is wearing clothes or not. And I mean, if the S&P continues to do well, maybe that's actually gonna lead to the king getting some clothes, even though he's naked right now, if you know what I mean. So gotta stay nimble. But yeah, appreciate you guys coming by. Big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description. Go check them out. They have cool competitions going on. They have like a 1 million prize pool for like a competition with a 1 million prize pool right now. They have had a competition for volume like a week or two ago. Like they do all kinds of things. So if you want to check that out, go to the link in the description. And if not, also cool. Really don't have to. Generally speaking, you should stay away from the leverage slider as much as possible. And use it for risk management purposes if you can. So yeah, that's that. Much love. Have a nice evening, day, whatever. We'll see each other. I don't know. Maybe I'll do another one on the weekend, or maybe I'll get Cred to. No, I think he's going to be gone the entire weekend. So maybe I'll do another one. Maybe not. We'll see. It's going to be short term kind of thing. So yeah. Much love. Bye bye.